while I'm on the record, that in my entire life, and why I'm under oath, in my entire life, I have never uttered a phrase that was either racist or anti-Semitic. I have spent my life fighting my professional career, fighting for Israel, for the protection of Israel. I have a better record on Israel than anybody in this chamber today. I'm the only person who has publicly objected to the $2 billion payout that the Biden administration is now making to Iran, which is a genocidal program. I'm the only one who's objected to that. I've fought more ferociously for Israel than anybody.
Before we get started, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest political analysis. Today we're looking at one of the most talked about congressional hearings in recent years. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. defended himself against accusations of anti-Semitism, argued that censorship threatens the First Amendment, and challenged lawmakers on the future of free speech in America. Whether you agree with him or not, this hearing raises important questions about the relationship between government, technology companies, and public debate. Let's break down what happened.
I want to put aside my written statement for a moment and address one of the points that was brought up, I think an important point by the ranking member, that this body ought to be concerning itself with issues that impact directly the American people. The rising price of groceries, 76% over the past 2 years for basic foodstuff, the war in Ukraine, the inflation issues, the border issues, many, many other issues that concern us all as a nation. We can't do that without the First Amendment, without debate. When I gave my speech, my announcement speech in Boston 2 months ago, YouTube, I talked about all those issues. I focused on grocery. I focused on the fact that working class people can no longer afford to live in this country. I talked about inflation, all the issues that deeply concern you, and that you've devoted your career to alleviating those issues. 5 minutes into my speech, when I was talking about Paul Revere, YouTube deplatformed me. I didn't talk about vaccines in that speech. I didn't talk about anything that was a verboten subject. I just was talking about my campaign and things, the conversation that we ought to be having with each other as Americans. But I was shut down, and that is why the First Amendment's important. Debate, congenial, respectful debate is the fertilizer, it's the water, it's the sunlight for our democracy. We need to be talking to each other. Now, this is a letter that many of you signed, many of my fellow Democrats. I've spent my life in this party. I've devoted my life to the values of this party. 102 people signed this. This itself is evidence of the problem that this hearing was convened to address. This is an attempt to censor a censorship hearing. The charges in this, and by the way, censorship is antithetical to our party. It was appalling to my father, to my uncle, to FDR, to Harry Truman, to Thomas Jefferson, as the chairman referred to. It is the basis for democracy. It sets us apart from all of the previous forms of government. We need to be able to talk, and the First Amendment was not written for easy speech. It was written for the speech that nobody likes you for. And I was censored not just by the Democratic administration, I was censored by the Trump administration. I was the first person censored by as the chairman pointed out, by the Biden administration 2 days after it came into office. Anti-Semitism, racism, these are the most appalling, disgusting pejoratives, and they're applied to me to silence me because people don't want me to have that conversation about the war, about groceries, about inflation, about the war on the middle class in this country that we need to be having. And by the way, I want to say this while I'm on the record. that in my entire life, and why I'm under oath, in my entire life, I have never uttered a phrase that was either racist or anti-Semitic. I have spent my life fighting my professional career, fighting for Israel, for the protection of Israel. I have a better record on Israel than anybody in this chamber today. I'm the only person who has publicly objected to the $2 billion payout that the Biden administration is now making to Iran, which is a genocidal program. I'm the only one who's objected to that. I fought more ferociously for Israel than anybody. But I am being censored here through this target, through smears, through misinterpretations of what I've said, through lies, through association, which is a tactic that we all thought we had been discredited and dispensed with after the Army McCarthy hearings in the 1950s. But those same weapons are now being deployed against me to silence me. I know many of the people who wrote this letter. I don't believe there's a single person who signed this letter who believes I'm anti-Semitic. I do not believe that. There is no evidence of that. Now, I want to say something I think that's more important, and it goes directly to what you talked about, ranking member, which is the need, this toxic polarization that is destroying our country today. And how do we deal with that? This kind of division is more dangerous for our country than any time since the American Civil War. And how do we deal with that? How are we every Democrat on this committee believes that we need to end that polarization. Do you think you can do that by censoring people? I'm telling you, you cannot. That only aggravates and amplifies the problem. We need to start being kind to each other. We need to start being respectful to each other. We need to start restoring the comedy to this chamber and to the rest of America, but it has to start here. My uncle, Edward Kennedy, has more legislation with his name on it than any senator in United States history. Why is that? Because he was able to reach across the aisle, because he didn't deal in insults, because he didn't try to censor people. He brought home people who were antithetical to what he believed in. He came home almost every weekend with people like Orrin Hatch to our house at the compound in Hyannisport. At that time, Orrin Hatch to me was like Darth Vader, because I was an environmentalist. And I was saying, why is Teddy bringing this guy home? But he knew that he was effective because he understood that comedy and respect and kindness and compassion and
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s testimony before Congress quickly became one of the most controversial political moments of the year. Instead of focusing only on the allegations against him, Kennedy shifted the conversation toward what he believes is a much larger issue: free speech. He opened by arguing that Americans are facing serious challenges, including rising grocery prices, inflation, the war in Ukraine, and border security. In his view, these are the issues Congress should be debating. He claimed that meaningful discussion of those problems depends on strong First Amendment protections. Kennedy pointed to his campaign announcement speech, saying YouTube removed it just minutes after it was published. According to him, the speech wasn't about vaccines or other controversial health topics. He argued that this demonstrated how online platforms can limit political speech, even when it does not directly violate obvious rules. That claim immediately brings up a broader debate that has divided Americans for years. Social media companies say they have a responsibility to enforce their policies and reduce harmful misinformation. Critics argue that when those companies remove political speech, especially from candidates or public figures, they risk limiting legitimate democratic debate. Kennedy also responded directly to accusations that he has made anti-Semitic remarks. Under oath, he denied ever expressing racist or anti-Semitic views and said he has spent much of his career supporting Israel. He argued that his statements have been taken out of context and that critics have distorted his words. His opponents disagree. Many lawmakers and advocacy groups have pointed to previous remarks they believe relied on harmful stereotypes or promoted false claims. Those disagreements remain central to the public debate surrounding Kennedy's public comments. Another major theme of his testimony was political polarization. Kennedy argued that censorship does not reduce division, but instead deepens mistrust between Americans. He urged lawmakers to engage in respectful disagreement rather than attempting to silence opposing viewpoints. He also referenced his uncle, Senator Edward Kennedy, describing how bipartisan friendships helped lawmakers work together despite significant political differences. Kennedy suggested that today's political environment has lost much of that willingness to cooperate across party lines. Regardless of where viewers stand politically, the hearing highlighted several important questions. How should social media platforms balance free expression with content moderation? What role, if any, should government officials play when communicating with technology companies about online content? And how can political leaders disagree without treating opponents as enemies? These questions extend well beyond one witness or one congressional hearing. They affect how Americans receive information, how elections are discussed, and how public trust is built or lost. The debate over free speech is unlikely to end anytime soon. Some believe stronger moderation protects the public from dangerous misinformation. Others believe excessive moderation risks suppressing legitimate political discussion. Finding the right balance continues to challenge lawmakers, technology companies, courts, and citizens alike. What do you think? Did Robert F. Kennedy Jr. make a compelling case for protecting free speech, or do you believe stronger safeguards against misinformation are necessary? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more political news and analysis.